Happy Friday to you. It's Bob Rankin, Northeast Funding, with my good friend Angelo Campagnano from Miranda Real Estate. Hello, Angelo.
How you doing, Bob? Thanks for having me in.
Thanks for coming in. It's February. January's gone. Spring's got to be around the corner.
Yeah, this is very exciting. We had a great real estate market last year. We're looking forward to another great real estate market this year.
How did you get in the real estate business, Angelo?
Well, I've been self-employed my whole life. And 11 years ago, I decided to make a little bit of a career change, and I decided to get involved in real estate. I like the flexibility. I like the potential of being able to be in charge of my own income. And so that's how I got involved in real estate.
Do you enjoy it?
I do.
Do you enjoy the different types of people you get to meet with?
Yes, that's probably one of the best parts. You can work with a 22-year-old first-time home buyer or a couple that's in their 80s and selling their home they've been in 50 years. And so it's have different ranges of people you work with.
Most of your business referral recommendation?
99% is referral
awesome.
recommendation for me. Pretty much in our business, you survive on how well you treat customers, and the customers are the ones who always refer you to their friends, family, neighbors, things like that. So yeah.
What advice can you give to somebody out there looking to buy a home? What should they look for in an agent? In the mortgage business, I sit down, I qualify people, and part of what I tell people, it doesn't matter whether I do your loan or not. What matters is you understand all your options. Yes, I want their business, but it's more important that they understand your options. When you're talking to somebody, what information would you tell somebody what they want to look for in a good agent?
Yeah. So I would probably step that back just a little bit. What I would say is this. So if I just had a girl this week that actually called me and was interested in seeing a house that I have listed across the street from her grandmother's. And of course, normally I'd be excited and want to make that appointment to show her that home right away. But you always got to take a step back. And so I said to her first, we have to make sure you can buy. And so what I decided is to give her information about making sure she's qualified to buy and set her up with a lender. And in that case, it was you. I referred her to you just to make sure that this person can buy. A lot of times, just because somebody calls you and says they want to buy a home, you want to make sure they can. More importantly, you want to make sure that they're a little bit in the driver's seat in that situation. Sometimes people think they can buy a $200,000 home, but really they can only buy $150,000. And although maybe that's not always bad news to them, I say to somebody, it's not that now you're buying a less priced home, so that's a downer. That's not really a downer. Now you know what you can really afford, and you can look at it more optimistically and instead of just thinking, not knowing what you can afford.
Now, people always say, well, Bob, I need to find an agent in the Saratoga. The last person I was told was in Rotterdam, but that's too far from Saratoga. Does it really matter where the agent is located? I mean, can an agent from Rotterdam do a customer justice in Latham or Saratoga?
Absolutely. In the capital region, our highway system is very simple to navigate. And so I used to think that sometimes that if I lived in Rotterdam, I couldn't list a house in Spiegeltown, let's say, as I just mentioned, or a little further away. But you know what? A lot of times, in about 30 minutes from Rotterdam or 30 minutes from Latham, you can just about get anywhere. And so it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you list someone's home, there's over 2,400 agents in the MLS. Once that house hits the MLS, the exposure's to a tremendous amount of agents. And it doesn't matter if you live in Rotterdam or if you live in Latham or Schenectady.
So when you're out there pricing a home, because you're really a double as I'm thinking here, you have two different roles you're playing. One, you're representing the seller to getting them top dollar on their home. Mm-hmm. And the other side, you're representing a buyer, helping them find a home and negotiate the best value, correct?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the selling side for a second. For somebody looking to sell their home and they're saying, how do I find the best agent for me? What should that agent be doing? Like when you go to see somebody to talk about listing their home, what's the information you bring to them? So
depending on where they live, our area, even though our area is a pretty large area, so a 2,500 square foot colonial in Rotterdam is not going to sell for the same price as a 2,500 square foot colonial in Latham, let's say. Okay, a lot of times I say, a 10-mile drive can almost mean $80,000, and people don't realize that, but that's true. And so where they live is most important. And so when you're pulling comps as an agent, obviously you're going to pull the comps from the area they're living in. That's most important. And so that will, number one, that helps determine the value of their home. And so that's always foremost. And then when we get in there, what we want to see is also what's most important is days on the market. A lot of areas sell quicker. Colony, North Colony, Latham, the days on the market there last summer was very short. Or if you were to look at it in, let's say, in the city of Schenectady or in some surrounding communities, days on the market is considerably higher. And so that all comes into play on the time of year we're going to list their house and the price point and all that.
So quite often, if somebody's house is in Latham and it's been in the market for 190 days, it's probably priced a little bit too high for the area?
Yep. So when I meet with a first-time home buyer, for example, a lot of times I'll bring a MLS sheet even on the listing appointment, and I'll say, look, at the two most important things you want to see is the price and the day it was listed. And was there a price reduction in there? So as you say, if a house was 180 days on the market, it was listed at $295, and it's 180 days, and you see days on market is 30 days, and this has been 180 days with no price reduction, that clearly tells us that the house is overpriced. Our brokers always taught us that three things sell a home: the price, the location, and the condition. And so if you compare all those things and you list a home and the condition's really good, the location's really good, but it's not selling, well, then it brings you to the price.
Right.
If you can reverse that, if you think you have it priced right, and maybe you do, or if the person's thinking that maybe they have it priced properly, well, and the location's really good, but you go inside and the condition's awful, that's an issue. And so, you have to look at all those things.
When somebody's looking for a home, and they're looking to buy a home, and you're trying to sit down with them, do you try and find out, like a first-time home buyer or a move-up buyer, not only what budget they're trying to stay within, but how long they plan on being in the home? Do you try and differentiate, is this your first home that you're looking to keep for 2 years, or is this going to be your last home? Or does that even come into play? And then to tie into that, when people are looking to buy homes, one of the most common questions they come to me when I'm qualifying them for home loans, Bob, of these closing costs and the down payment, how much more do I have to pay the real estate agent? Because quite often people aren't sure who pays the agent's commission. So if you're representing somebody that's looking to buy a home, who pays your commission?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting today. A lot of young buyers, a lot of young people are very savvy, right? They know a lot of what's going on with technology and that. I've sat with a lot of young buyers and sit down, we do a buyer presentation. And that has come up several times. They want to know, how long do they get to work with me before they have to actually pay me? What if it takes them 6 months? And so it's wonderful when that question comes up, because then not often in life you get to hear about a freebie. And then I say, well, the good news is you don't pay me. And a lot of these young buyers are like, well, who pays you? I'm like, well, I get paid on the selling side, on the listing side. And so that's one of the nice things that occasionally does happen. So, but to your other point, yes, if you're meeting with somebody, it's important to find out how long they want to stay in a home. And if it's a move up for them, are you going to, because again, closing costs are important. If someone says, geez, you know what, let's say somebody's in the military and they know they're going to get deployed in 2.5 or 3 years, you may want to decide where you're going to live, how long of a purchase is it going to be. That doesn't come up too often, but it's a concern for people, sure.
What do you find are some of the challenges you do run into?
Well, there's a lot of varied challenges, and one would be it's 2018, right? And so there's still those people that bought homes on the higher end of the market back in anywhere from like 2007, 8, 9, right in there. That just went on a listing appointment Tuesday night. A gal bought a home for $225, and all day long now the comps are about $165. So it was a customer's mom, and she's gone in an assisted living place. So now we're going to sell her home for quite a bit less. And that's a difficult situation because that was part of her nest egg. Home's paid for, but now they're looking at a loss. And so, pricing it is not necessarily a challenge for me because I know where it needs to be priced. It's a challenge for them because they kind of can't, they can't justify how much money their mom's going to lose, and especially it was new construction, so that was more difficult.
Angelo Campagnano, Miranda Real Estate. I've known Angelo for several years. We've worked together in business for several years. We've gone to church together for several years. If you haven't had a good experience with an agent, you've gone to the wrong agent. If you're looking for a quality agent, Angelo Campagnano, Miranda Real Estate in Rotterdam is a great way to go. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.